Hi, my name is Patty Simoni. I'm a professor of psychology at Santa Clara University, and this is a talk about improving memory at any age. What I'd like you to take away from this conversation are three things. One, what is normal age-related memory loss? What factors contribute to memory loss? And what can you do to improve memory? I'm going to start with a case study about a 93-year-old male who experienced a broken hip and elbow after a catastrophic fall in his home. After a 5-day hospital stay, he was transported to a rehab facility for physical rehabilitation. He was given a cognitive assessment by a speech therapist who reported that he suffered from dementia. The assessment he was given is called the SLUMS, the St. Louis University Mental Status Examination. And some sample questions include what are the days of the week, what year it is, what state are you in, a word problem, a math word problem actually, and being asked to recall 5 items that were listed before. It's actually a 30-point assessment with 11 questions. And these questions are really getting at someone's orientation to where they are and what their memory is like, and also attention. I'll share with you, though, that the family disagreed that this man had dementia, and more on that in a little bit. All right, well, hopefully you're not disappointed to learn that you are going to be given some memory tests yourself. This is a talk on memory, and it's participatory. So I'm going to read you a list of words right now. I would like you to pause the video if you don't have paper and pencil handy, because I'll ask you when I'm done reading the list to pause the video again and write down as many as you can remember. Okay, here's the list. Bed, quilt, dark, silence, fatigue, clock, snoring, night, toss, tired, night, artichoke, turn, night, rest, dream, snooze, slumber. Okay, pause the video and write down as many as you can remember. All right, now you're back. Hopefully you were able to recall some of those words. I'm going to ask you, possibly you remembered the word bed. It was the first in the list. That's called the primacy effect. It's usually easier to remember the first couple of words and also the last couple of words too. So for instance, you might have also remembered the word slumber because that was the last word that I was said. So that's called the recency effect. But let's talk a little bit more about memory. We'll return to this in a moment. All right, so here's a model. It's called the information processing model of memory, and it stresses the importance of, well, the environment. You don't need to know how memory works in order to use memory, obviously, but it's kind of nice to know those mechanics. It can actually help improve your memory. So that's what we're going to go through with this model, is to talk about some of the mechanics. So we'll begin by talking about attention. And then we're going to talk about bringing information, learning information, and putting it into your long-term memory. And in truth, when most people think of memory, they think of long-term memory of this model. In particular, it's called episodic memory. Like, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Or where did you go? What did you do on your 21st birthday? Or how did you celebrate last birthday? Things like that. Those are called episodic memories. And that's usually what people think of most of all when they're talking about memory. But of course, in order to lay down that long-term memory, there's a lot of other things that need to happen as well. So let's talk about attention first. Oops. Okay, so one of the common causes, we actually forget a lot in a day, and forgetting is more normal than not forgetting, but of course sometimes it's disappointing. So let's figure out why sometimes we forget information. And we're going to start with attention. All right, sometimes it's really easy to pay attention to things in the world. if I asked you to locate all of the red letter A on this screen, you'd be able to find all three of them pretty fast, unless you were colorblind, and then it might be a little bit harder. But otherwise, these pop out at you, so that's pretty easy to do. But a lot of our life, when we're paying attention, it's not so simple as find the red letter amongst a bunch of black letters. This is usually what our world looks like. So here's an old, if you remember the Where's Waldo craze, I don't know, in the 90s, I think that was. Yeah, this is what our life is. And then the question is, find Waldo. And that's a lot harder to do. There's a lot of interfering, distracting objects that help you find that one person with a hat and a striped, red striped sweater. But if you want to know where Waldo is in this picture, there he is. Okay. So it's hard to pay attention to everything. And I mean, here's another example. What do you see in that image on the left? Do you see a face? Do you see a word? See, depending on what you pay attention to, you'll either see that as a face or you'll see it as the word liar. That's if you see the white as the object. And similar with what we have on the right, you might see that as kind of a silhouette, a shadow of a man playing a saxophone, or you see it as the complete face of a woman. Depends on what you look at for the figure. If the black is the figure for the image on the right, you'll see the saxophonist. If you see the white as the image, then you'll see that as a woman's face. Okay, so attention matters. And I mean, honestly, we're just not really good at paying attention to things. This is a chest scan, a CT scan, I believe, of the chest. And this image was shown to experts in cancer. Their job is to detect anomalies in these scans, or in scans of people. And so they had 24 radiologists look at this, and they watched the radiologists to see where they were looking. And they were looking in all the right places because there is an abnormality within the scan. But only 4 of the 24 radiologists reported seeing this abnormality. Hope you can lean in and get a good look at that. It is something that does not belong on a chest x-ray. And if you haven't seen the video for the invisible gorilla, I recommend that you look that one up after this. It's a really good video. It's called Invisible Gorilla. There are a lot of videos like that, so have fun. All right, how about another assessment of attention? This is actually another memory test. Which is the right what's a penny look like? Which of these is the correct depiction of a penny? You probably know that it's copper and Lincoln's on the face of it, but do you know really what a penny looks like? Probably not. It's just these are details that we don't have to pay attention to. We can recognize a penny from afar. We never really had to store all that information about what was there. And honestly, I do this demo often, and I still had to go find a penny and find out what the real answer was. And I'll probably forget again, but the answer is A. That is what a penny looks like, at least as far as I can tell. I'm not positive, but nonetheless, the point is we don't store everything. That's just not how memory works. If anything, we store bits and pieces of information all over the brain. It's actually more amazing we ever remember anything accurately, to tell you the truth. Okay, so we're still on to common causes of forgetting. Our first was attention, that we actually didn't learn it or didn't pay attention to it in the first place, and therefore, how could we possibly remember it later if we didn't even bring it in because we didn't pay attention to it? And next, I want to bring up kind of the second level, which is effort. And that's part of the learning. So getting information into long-term memory, it might not have been learned well. So let's explore that for a moment. It turns out that that prior experience actually really is helpful in remembering information. Personal connections help too. So remembering someone's birthday is a lot easier if that date has some type of meaning to you. It's meaningful to you, or maybe someone has the name of someone else you know, or a sibling, or your name. You know, you're not going to. It's going to be harder to forget that if something is meaningful to you. But when things don't automatically have meaning to us, sometimes it takes effort then to learn something new. Organizing information into meaningful chunks is helpful, and actively connecting with what you know. The more you know, I like to think of it either as a magnet, it's easy to pull information and connect it with what we already know, or you can think of it as an anchor too. It's going to stick in your memory because you anchor it to other things that you know. So it's helpful to know a lot. So we talked about then. Now we have two common causes of forgetting. One is attention, and the second is effort. Things just aren't learned well. Again, it's helpful to have connections with things you know, and sometimes practice helps as well. So let's do a little bit of a review here. Before, I wanted to tell you, it's easier to remember what surprises you. So, for instance, if something's unexpected. So, if you think about your list of words that we wrote down at the beginning in that first memory test that I gave you, what was the unexpected item on that list? Artichoke. And it's possible that you remembered it because it was unusual. Um, it's also easier to remember things that are important to you, as I just mentioned. And one way that some things, are deemed as important is if they're repeated. And so the word that was repeated 3 times was night. So you might have remembered the word night. Again, you need to attend to the list, right? You need to be paying attention to the list. So it's easier to remember what you attend to. Don't forget, there's the gorilla. We can miss a gorilla. Trained experts can miss a gorilla, and so can we. So we need to pay attention to what's going on. So you need to pay attention to the list itself. And it's also easier to remember what you connect. So sometimes common word pairs or themes are easier to remember too. And so from that list of words, there were 2 words that were connected. They go together kind of like peanut butter and jelly, and that is toss and turn. So if you got one of those words, toss, very likely you also got the word turn because they go together. One can activate the other. But speaking of themes, be wary. Not only do we sometimes, well, okay, maybe often forget, but sometimes we misremember too. So if you have on your list of things, of words that I said, and one of your words is sleep, that was not on my list of words. You'll just have to trust me here. You can go back and listen to it again. But those words were all sleep related, so it made sense that you would recall the word sleep, when in fact that's a misremembrance. That is not a word that I said. Again, it's pretty incredible that we remember as much as we do, and that it's accurate. So don't go hard on yourself. That's a mistake that all of us make. All right, so true or false? In any day, we remember more than we forget. Do you think that's true? It is true. But we really only think about memory failures when or memory, yeah, when it fails us. We just take it for granted that we're going to remember a lot of things, but it's like digestion, and we only think of it when we fail at it. But nonetheless, forgetting is normal. We do it at every age. Yeah. If you think, yeah, okay. So back to our case study. What are some factors that negatively could impact memory? One of them is age. Sure. Okay. Yeah, it's true. There are some, normative age-related memory loss. But that would not be to the extent that this person was experiencing, because this person showed on that test that they had uh, dementia. So, age doesn't cause dementia. It's associated with it. The longer we live, the more likely it is that will show symptoms of dementia, but it's not a guarantee. And not everyone goes on to develop dementia. So, what else could have caused this person's scoring on that test? And I'll share with you that this is a picture of me and my dad. We're at the beach in San Diego. This was him after that accident, as a matter of fact. He fully recovered from that and lived for many more years. And he was not cognitively impaired. So, what could have contributed to his performance on that test that he was given? And there are several factors. One is stress. Stress is terrible for our memory. I mean, some stress or arousal is good for forming memories, but too much or chronic activation can make it hard to lay down new memories. And it negatively impacts this part of the brain called the hippocampus that is important for memory formation. So stress is bad for our cognitive health, our mental health, and also our physical health. But that was something stress he just experienced because of that fall and the surgery and the aftermath. So he was under more stress than typical. Sleep loss is something else that can contribute to memory problems that could look like dementia. And 5 days in a hospital, it's guaranteed poor quality sleep. And then another is medications, or our medications. There are common medications that impact our cognition and can make it look like someone has dementia. So those last three, stress, sleep loss, and medications, will be considered ways of experiencing reversible dementia. And you want to know if someone has reversible dementia because you can make changes in their environment or in their medication to reverse the dementia, rather than just accept that someone has dementia because of their age. Here's a list of medications that can potentially impact memory. So if you or anyone you know are on any of these types of medications, and my dad was on narcotic painkillers for sure, but yeah, I would look into memory. If there's memory impairment, it could be caused from medications and even interactions from different medications as well. All right, so now on to tips to improve memory. Last part of the talk. I'm going to give you 3 E's. Hopefully that'll help you remember it as a mnemonic to remember what will help you improve memory. One of them is effort, okay? If you think of it, over time, we work at something, we practice at a skill, whatever it might be, we practice, and then sometimes we get to an okay plateau. So for instance, I'm a pretty good typer. I've been doing it since college. I'm not great. I could be better. Certainly, if I'm going to use a number or some of the other special keys, I have to stop what I'm doing and take a look where those are. But I'm at an okay plateau. I don't need to get better. I'm pretty fine with where I am. But with deliberate practice, I could get better if I wanted to, as an example. So that's not usually a problem, but what can be a problem is if we start to show some type of a loss of skill, and this can happen with age or it can happen after an accident. And then we might have this new plateau or this new okay. And then it's a matter of, do we stick with that? Are we okay with this new okay? Or do we engage in deliberate and effortful practice so that we can improve that skill again? And I'd say, well, it's a choice that we make. And I would encourage everyone to make the choice to challenge ourselves. All right, so effort is the first. The second is engagement. And what I mean by engagement is engagement with the world around us, and engagement really with others. And I don't know if you're familiar with the research on social isolation, but to be socially isolated is as bad for our health as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, right? So social isolation is really bad for our physical health, our mental health, and our cognitive health. So stay engaged. I would say stay engaged with the world around you. And there are a lot of ways to do that, but social engagement is really important. And finally, exercise. No surprise there, but physical activity Aerobic activity for sure, anaerobic, so even lifting weights, Pilates, yoga, Tai Chi, so many things that are good for our overall health, physical health, mental health, and cognitive health too. Triple whammy with that one. Okay, so let's get back to our takeaways. Just a few more minutes, we're almost done. So I was hoping that you would walk away from this knowing what's normal age-related memory loss. And I would say two things here. First of all, forgetting is normal at all ages, right? You've been forgetting throughout your life. We start to attribute it to other things as we get older. We might call them senior moments, but that's yeah, but we probably could, yeah, with more effort, we could recall, we could learn. All right. But so forgetting is normal at all ages. And if what's going on in someone's life does not interfere with their daily living, right? They're not getting lost going to familiar places. They're not leaving the stove on repeatedly or the water running. They're still able to live independently and take care of themselves. Then that's not significant memory loss. We'll talk in a minute about ways to mitigate even slight memory loss. But I wanted to look at what factors contribute to memory loss, and I would say attention, effort, stress, sleep, medications, and yes, age. But I would list that one last. All right, the more we pay attention to something, the more we connect it to things that we already know, the more effort we put into that. If we, try and reduce our stress, improve our sleep, watch our medications. We can help reverse some of that memory loss that we might experience. We have more agency than we think. And then last, what can you do to improve your memory? And those were the 3 E's that I gave you: effort, engagement with others, and exercise. All right, for you go-getters, I've got a few more suggestions as well. So what more can you do? Ideally, you want to protect your neurons, and here's some ideas there. If you have high blood pressure, get it under control. Manage blood sugar, maintain a healthy weight, eat a healthy diet, keep physically active, don't smoke, limit your alcohol intake, and prevent head injuries, right? You just want to keep your brain protected. And I think this image, you want to keep the blood supply, you want to keep the blood flowing to your brain. So you want to look more like the image on the bottom than the one on the top. Let's keep that blood flowing to the brain. And you can also stimulate your neurons. So protect your neurons and stimulate your neurons. And you stimulate your neurons in some of the same ways. Eat a healthy diet, stay mentally active, right? You're listening to this talk right now. So chalk one up for right now. You are staying mentally active and engaged in this. Sleep well, take care of your mental and physical health. Treat hearing problems. That might be a surprise to you, but if you have hearing loss, that might contribute to social isolation. So treat your hearing problems and stay connected with family and friends. That social connection is very important. But if I had one suggestion to give, it would be to stay physically active. And I'll even throw out as an example, dance. Particularly if you don't regularly dance. If you do regularly dance, find a new step that you're going to learn. So you're going to stimulate your cognition by learning something new. You're physically active, and most people are dancing with others. And so you have that social interaction as well. And if you're looking for something to read, these are 3 books I recommend. They're all fantastic. And I use content from some of these to help put this talk together. So we've got Counterclockwise by Ellen Langer, The Telomere Effect by Blackburn and Epple, and Invisible Gorilla by Chabris. They're all very entertaining and fantastic. And I hope you enjoyed the talk, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.